It's another edition of the Untitled Movie Show for Wednesday, March 4th, 2015. I'm, of course, your host, the Captain Kirk of the Retro on Limb channel, Mr. Miguel Leon, and the first mate here, Mr. Sulu himself, Michael Burhan.
Good evening.
And we've also got the bones of the Retro on Limb channel, Mr. Dave Wade.
Bones? Really, Bones?
It's his name. It's either that or McCoy. What, would you rather be Scotty?
You want to be Scotty then? Because I'm English and that's as close as you can get to an alcoholic.
I cannot do it, Captain! I cannot reach the control panel!
And last but not least, we've got the Uhura. Thank you. Last but not least, we have the Uhura of the Retro on Limb channel, Miss Annina Kaski.
Hello, Captain.
You got that weird metal
thing like the way you say
out your ear right now.
This is getting sexual.
That would be said.
Oh my god, I just realised I never saw it before. Star Trek invented Bluetooth headpieces.
Yes, they did. They invented Bluetooth, the personal data assistant, PDA, and a bunch of other stuff. But we wanted to hint to that before we started onto the main show. I mean, it's probably something we would have saved for the news episode, but given how big of an event this was, a tragic event, I figure we might as well bring it up. We lost a great sci-fi staple, ladies and gentlemen. The great Leonard Nimoy passed away this past week, and I figure, being the Untitled Movie Show, we might as well say something about it. It's unfortunate. You know, it's unfortunate in the sense that it's always bad when somebody dies, but I mean, the man lived to be in his 80s, so I can't say it was, a tragedy in the sense that, he was taken, in the prime of his life. I mean, he went in to the hospital. I think he was complaining, was suffering from some sort of chest pains and passed away. I mean,
do we know what he died from? Oh, so that sounds really morbid. The only reason I said it was such a quick series of events. I saw a picture of him in a wheelchair on a ventilator being wheeled to hospital, and then all of a sudden it turned out in my feed that he passed away, and I was just like, what? Wait, what? No, you're supposed to live forever.
I think it was a blood disorder.
It was complications to chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. Yeah, I actually saw a Twitter. I think it was based off of a heart attack or a heart episode of some sorts. But in the ripe young age of, let's see, what was his age? 83.
80.
I mean, that's not a bad life to live. I mean, especially considering what he's done and what he's known for. I wouldn't mind having that contract, in all honesty. But yeah, what is your memory of Leonard Nimoy, Burhan? We'll start with you.
Mine, there's loads. Since I was a kid, I remember when he did that kind of leprechaun song thing. I think he was drugged off his head when he did that.
That was amazing.
The others was like, he did like The Simpsons. My fondest memories from him in Star Trek, and I have to admit, it is the whole Star Trek Search for Spock thing, where he's like, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, and he dies in front of his best friend. I think that was a sweet moment, which they kind of reinterpreted in Into Darkness. But he's been like a pop culture icon for years. People don't get the fact that this guy is timeless, in a sense. He had a huge career resurgence when the new Star Trek movies came out, and Fringe and stuff like that as well. And he's always been one of those actors who can work. He can make you believe any character that he plays. When he played a villain in the final season of Fringe, I was like, oh my god! He's one of those amazing character actors that he's identifiable by one role, but he doesn't just have one role that makes him who he is.
IMDb, and people seem to forget that he's got a vast wealth of work outside of Star Trek, but obviously because he's best known for that, people seem to forget that.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's the thing, and I remember him being one of the cultural icons for me as a kid. I identify with him as much as I identify with someone like Bruce Campbell, or I identify with someone like the guy who plays Al Bundy, Ed O'Neill. I identify with all these guys because they were main focuses of my childhood. I was a very diverse little kid. who managed to watch a hell of a lot of TV because my dad thought that was a babysitter, and who loved video games and stuff, and nerd culture is kind of ingrained in my lifestyle. And ingrained in my life, and it's a shame that it's I can share some of his fantastic moments with my kids, but I don't think my kids will get it as much as I would, and it's like losing kind of a parental figure all over again. It's a shame, but you know what, he has lived a long life. Like I was saying this to someone recently, the guy's like, he was like 85 when he died. Most people, my dad didn't even live to 55.
83. 83.
Okay, 83, but my dad didn't even live to 55. He's lived a very, very long life, and especially on the fact that, he came from a time where celebrities used to do a hell of a lot of drugs. Yeah. A lot of drugs and a lot of sex, so, and he made it through that era. He lived to a very great age of 83.
I remember he put 2 albums out during that time.
Exactly, and they were actually, I think they sold
like a million. Called I Am Spock, I believe.
And they sold like 1 million units, I think, so think about that. That's kind of scary. Because he did it in the Spock voice as well, which is the great thing. Miguel, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here. What, did I drop out?
No, I said that's pretty much my experience.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, really, it's only within the last year or so, as I'm reading, that he really, unfortunately, this did come back to bite him. He was diagnosed with COPD in 2014. He actually became a spokesman, I believe, for the American Lung Association against smoking, because I think that's what caused him to get COPD, was he had a history of smoking, and it finally caught up to him. There's actually a series of tweets that he put out in early 2014 when he was diagnosed, basically telling people don't smoke. He became a very, an anti-smoking advocate, which, I mean, that's not a bad course to take. I mean, smoking's a terrible habit. My old man quit about a decade ago. He just decided to quit, and he's been so much healthier because of it. So, it's unfortunate that it took that to finally have him slow down, and it unfortunately wasn't enough. He ended up dying a year later, but, an elder statesman.
Did he still smoke up to that point then?
Up until 2014,
I know I'm on the lecky fags, but I haven't smoked a real cigarette in 10 years.
Let me see. I think one of his tweets said, oh no, he quit smoking like 30 years ago, but apparently the complications came back to get him at this late in his stage. So it's rough, man. Stuff like that can just come back to bite you.
Well, it does, because it mutates the cells in your body. Every time you take a freaking pull of a fag, it will basically do.
Yeah, the damage is irreversible with every cigarette, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I quit at the age of 22, and I've had occasional ones, I have to admit, but I cleaned myself up like last year, and it's one of those decisions that I don't regret making. And it's just because of the fact that I want to, after my own father's death, I wanted to make sure that I was there for my kids, and no matter how hard life gets, man, it's stuff like that, just small little things that you think that are not going to do you any harm, or you sit there and go, oh, we're going to die one day, but then they eventually get you. But as I said, he's lived a very long age. I was looking at someone else's profile recently, like Peter O'Toole, who died at 81, and that dude he was on everything. He literally had drink for breakfast.
He was the Keith Richards of acting.
Yeah, definitely. So it's like sometimes you wonder if the drugs are what kept them alive.
But he...
It's like the episode of The Simpsons, isn't it? Which is Mr. Burns has got so much wrong with him, it crams the door, and not one of them gets through.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was doing the stuff. He was doing he mutated his body, not just. He was taking all kinds of chemicals. He probably mutated
when he
himself
died, he was no longer Peter O'Toole. He was the 10th version of him.
Yeah, it was literally, the dude was on everything, and I remember working with him one day, and it was just like, oh my god, you're Peter O'Toole, and then realising that he's out of his face.
I mean, anybody that's watched Caligula can see that.
Or Venus. Venus was very painful to watch, even though I acted in it.
Mm-hmm. That's another Burhan movie to watch out
really
for.
Wild show. Sorry.
Who are you in Venus, then?
Oh, I played Party Girl number 3.
Oh, okay. What are those?
I was one of those. It was actually, I didn't care. I worked with Peter O'Toole.
That's good for the story. But yeah, Dave, what's your memories of Leonard Nimoy? Because you guys, I'll be honest, you guys are a lot older than I am, so you saw him right coming out. Well, I hate to say it, but you guys probably saw more of him on TV post Star Trek than I did. I mean, by the time the '90s
Star
rolled
Trek,
around.
not that bloody old. I wasn't born in the
All right,
'50s, Miguel.
Well,
well,
reruns,
Star Trek
reruns,
was,
okay. Reruns.
yeah, Star Trek was 60s.
I did a video for it on my my channel. I got a really nice comment because I did one for Rick Mal as well, and it was someone actually said, "I like the fact that you're not afraid to show your feelings on camera." And I was like, "I'm not doing anything other than just saying this was a big part of my life and he's gone. I miss and mourn this." But it goes back to what Byrne said. It was, and I don't want to paint him as that because he does have this vast body of work. I don't want to paint him, as this chick pony, which is Spock, but that's what everyone knows him for. And that's what I grew up with, which was, Wednesday nights. Star Trek was on BBC Two, and I used to sit down with my parents, my twin brother, my older brother, and we used to watch it. It was just mind blowing. Whose computer has just turned into Optimus Prime?
I was just about to yell out "elephant in the room," but I was going to wait until it built up a little bit.
It's not me.
It's not mine. Burhan, I think it might be. No, it's not from anybody's end, actually. Okay. Probably. But yeah, go ahead. Keep talking about
he was such a big part of my childhood memories, it was like a great family moment watching Star Trek. It was like a treat, every week with your family, and that's what I best knew him for. And so I do feel this sounds like a really bad cliche that I know lots of people say when someone you care about passes away, was it just felt like someone you knew in the sense that he was always there for you in your childhood. And you watched and enjoyed him. And I have to say, one of my favorite roles was when he was the evil surgeon in Columbo. Amazing episode. I was absolutely gutted and devastated. And it was weird because I remember seeing, like I said, I saw the picture of him being wheeled away, on a ventilator, your oxygen, and then I had a bad vom day the next day, and then I remember waking up really late and just logging into my computer, and it just popped up on my Facebook feed, and it was weird. When you look at something and you don't believe it, and you're like, no, really? No. One comment? No. So I turned on the news, and then...
Yeah, I know exactly how you feel, because that was the exact same feeling I had when I woke up, looked at my phone, and Robin Williams was dead. It was the exact same feeling.
Mm.
You just wake up, and it's just like, you can't believe it,
Yeah,
you got that crossover moment from when you wake up. Like when you, this sounds like a bad comparison, but hopefully it'll make sense. Like when you have one of those dreams where you dream like, holy shit, I've got a Jaguar, and then you wake up and you have that weird 5 minutes of your dreams, kind of like sleephead that hasn't completely dissipated.
Lucid dreaming, yeah.
Yeah, and so you kind of look at it, and you just go, yeah, no, it's not real. And then when you get your coffee head on, you're kind of like, wait, what? Hang on, let me go back and look at that. Wait, what? No? And then I turned on the telly and saw it like rolling across all the news stations, and I was just like, oh my god, a little part of my childhood. And this sounds selfish, but I think you might know where I'm coming from. But it was another part of my childhood just died.
Mm.
Well,
I said it in the video, and I stand by it. And it's not being a cliche, but I think the death scene at the end of Star Trek 2, I think Kirk's speech is the perfect epitaph for him, which is, of all the souls I've traveled with, his was the most human.
And it's funny you mention that, because whereas Kirk kind of became a caricature of his self as time has gone on in terms of Shatner and whatnot, it's amazing how much of an elder statesman Leonard Nimoy was still able to keep up, even in the face of being able, like, he could have gone the same route as Shatner, or even George Takei, who in his right within the last 10 years has kind of become a caricature of himself. But Nimoy, not so much. I mean, yeah, we poke fun at stuff like the Legend of Bilbo Baggins and a lot of that folk stuff he did early on in his career, but for the most part within the last 30 years he's become like the pinnacle of class. He has never gotten himself in any trouble.
Very suave, reserved, you said, elderly statesman, professional, level to himself. Whereas, as you said, Kirk, sorry, Shatner, is basically become a comedic version of himself, of his character, of himself.
Well, I will have to say, like Shatner in Shit My Dad Says, he is totally not himself in that. He's more very fast-paced and very on the button. It's a shame that show actually got cancelled.
Yeah, I didn't hear many good things about it in all honesty, but I mean, he got his whole thing with Boston Legal. I mean, that pretty much was like
That was
7 or 8
great show.
seasons. Yeah, he and Spader really worked well together. And going back to Nimoy and well, those guys really had a chemistry to themselves either. They're kind of the Bert and Ernie of science fiction. But yeah, Annina, what do you have
That's
to
the
say on the whole
greatest
matter?
analogy ever. Sorry, I just said I'm never gonna forget that phrase, Miguel. That's the Bert and Ernie of science fiction. I like that.
Go ahead,
Yes.
Annina.
Like Dave and Burhan were saying, I spent every single Saturday night when I was a kid eating pizza and watching sci-fi with my big brother. And Star Trek was obviously one of the ones we watched. All the Star Trek, the old ones, Next Generation, all of them. And what additionally makes me really sad in this is, well, I'm an actor, and few actors have. I believe that gravitas is something you can't act. Yeah, either have it or you don't. And you can be an
It's
actor
the
without
aura, as I
gravitas,
call it.
and that's fine. You just play different parts. But Nimoy was one of those people with just this amazing presence. Absolutely amazing. Fantastic voice. He could read the phone book to me. I'd be quite happy. Quite very, very happy. I'd watch him do his ironing. Like I said, there's there's a list of actors who I will watch them do anything, and it's going to be riveting. And then
I know they say
Nimoy is in
acting is a
that too.
trade, but great actors are born with persona. You can't learn
That's the
that.
thing. Yeah, it's chemistry. It's
It's
basically
gravitas. It's not. You can be a good actor and not have like a strong presence on screen, and then every now and then you just get these people with just almost phenomenal levels of gravitas, and it can work against you as an actor as well because you can't play every role because you're just too powerful on stage or screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, he played Spock and it really suited Spock, and then he played villain parts, but then he can't do many other roles because he would just hog too much of the screen. So it's a
That.
blessing and a
Go ahead.
curse at the same time, but he'll always be remembered. He'll go down in history,
I
which
agree.
is something that few actors, I think, even if you're famous in your time, will you actually be remembered for generations to come? Nimoy will.
That's one of the things that I want to do in terms of my career is to be remembered. I've always said that to people. Someone goes, what do you want to do with your life? Why do you do what you do? And I always say to be remembered. I want to be remembered by by people. It's weird because when you look at your body of work, there's only a few. There's certain actors you never thought probably would be remembered. Like like Peter Weller, for instance. You know he's going to be remembered, and he's kind of got a career resurgence going on at the moment. Nimoy definitely. And a lot of them is because they're so powerful. The roles that they play, they just define. They become so defined by those characters that it ends up overshadowing anything else that they do. But as you said, with Nimoy's powerful voice and the way that he kind of vocalizes himself, it brings that whole. He has that whole gravitas to him, and
very effortlessly. I never thought he overacted anything. He was actually very subtle, very very subtle.
yeah, and that's exactly and it's the one thing that I want to kind of say for him to give us out. He left one final tweet. I posted this on my Facebook profile, so most of you haven't seen it. Check it out. But it says, "A life is like a garden. Perfect moments can be had, but not preserved, except in memory. Live long and prosper."
Wow, that's all. It's haunting, but it's always nice to know to have that last words be something like that. It goes back to when Warrior died, and he had that amazing speech that he put out the day before. You know, it's kind of creepy in a sense, but it's always nice that you can look back and have that be the last words said. And you mentioned something before, Annina, with presence and how he never really faltered from that. That's going back to what I said. I'm give him a lot of credit for not sinking to a level of in his later years taking the piss out of himself, because that's the big problem I have with Shatner, and to an extent, um oh god, Sulu, what's his George Takei, is in their later years when they weren't getting as many roles, they kind of said, yeah, they kind of got to the point to where it's like, all right, I've got to kind of play a caricature of myself if I'm going to stay relevant and kind of just do comedy. And Nimoy never did that, and he could have. I mean, honestly, if Nimoy had decided I'm going to start taking roles where I'm just a clown and I'm poking fun at the fact that I was Spock, I'm sure people would have thought he was just as funny as Takei and Shatner were. But he never dropped his aura for that, and I have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah,
Maybe he isn't as much in the pop culture eye now in terms of his more recent stuff, but I think that cemented his memory long term, because now you can look back on it and remember his role as Spock, and really have that be the one big memory in your head, instead of Shatner, who, yeah, he did Kirk, but then you're gonna remember all the stupid stuff he did right after that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. I think with Nimoy, with a lot of these guys, we're in an age now where we've seen this mainstream assertion of nerd culture. So it's become to that point where these guys are going to be remembered for these iconic roles that they've played. But as you said, he never kind of pushed himself into that direction. He never basically. He's always been who he is, and that's it. You know, I was actually, like, Johnny Millennium posted a video of him doing the music video for Bruno Mars's what's it called? It's from one of his
old. Don't feel like doing anything?
Yes, from his album Doo-Wops and Hooligans. And he did a version of that, and it was hilarious because it was just him doing a normal people things. You know, you see that guy, like, so iconic, and you think he's so well mannered, and he was just doing stuff that's totally out of the box. But he pulled it off. It looked really hilariously weird, but he pulled it off. And I think when it comes to these characters, like, as you said, Takei's more of, when he's on, when he plays different characters, like he's played a few different characters that are not Sulu, but he always tends to ham himself up and go, oh my, and do that kind of character, as in Shatner's does this kind of comedic version of Bill Shatner, like when he does like versions of him wording songs out. But Nimoy's never done that. He's always managed to seem credible in whatever he does, and that's the main thing. And I think in terms of these moments, as long as we keep the moments and the feelings that we have when these people were around, I think that will just make things, the memories will continue. And that's the thing. Just remember that you've had these moments in lives with these people, guys, and don't look at it as you're losing someone. Look back at the memories that you've shared with them, you know, because those moments...
Sadly he's gone, but I think it's safe to say he has achieved immortality.
Yes, he's left a long impact, and I think in the end, everything he's done will be everlasting. And there's nothing more happy, you know, to any actor, to any person in the world that's in show business, than to be everlasting, because there's not many people can achieve that sort of status and be known and respected and loved, and I guarantee you probably 20 years on from now we're still going to be talking about Nimoy. People, even kids.
No offense to the actors in these roles, but do you think this many people are going to be fawning over if Jonathan Frakes died? I kind of doubt it. You know, no offense to Frakes, you know, he was great on his role in TNG, but I mean, nowhere near to the level of Nimoy.
I think he'll be. I think Thunderbirds fans will be really happy.
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah.
See, they've got that.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Frakes, was Frakes the one that directed the
American?
He did, and it was terrible.
Like screw puppets.
I know we're talking about Leonard, but how do you fuck up something like Thunderbirds that basically says, make me like the 60s show, and you've got a fucking...
These were live people, Miguel. It was live people. He made it look like a Nickelodeon Kids TV report.
On the planet I thought Thunderbirds was terrifying. It really freaked me out.
The puppet show, or do you mean the Jonathan?
Puppet show, the '60s puppet show. I'm scared of dolls.
Come on, Steve. Sorry.
They're terrifying.
The problem with that is that, and Jonathan Frakes in his later works has kind of been suffering from this. He tends to suffer from what I call Nickelodeon-itis, where between this and the movie Clock Stoppers, his movies look like kids' movies. And I think that's the problem people had. Like, Thunderbirds was a kids' movie. Same thing with the movie he did, Clock Stoppers, which he did after Insurrection. You know, it's just like, it could have been a little bit more. It could have been like what the '98 Avengers should have been.
Yeah, it's one of those things where with him, it's kind of, he doesn't know how to properly frame and direct a movie, and he's a great actor. He's a good actor, should I say? Not a great actor. He's a good actor. He's very good at being charming, but he's never stopped being charming. He'd be good for directing daytime soap operas, but feature films, I would not stick him near anything. He needs someone to work with that complements him, and with every film I've seen him do, they've been long, they've been drawn out, they've been boring, there's nothing.
I'll be honest though, with the exception of First Contact, because I honestly did like First Contact.
Yeah, but I felt I think a lot of that was to do with the acting, not really to do with the direction, and I think the story was good, but the direction was kind of meh. It's one of those things. If you put it in the hands of someone like J.J. Abrams, it could have been like probably a million times better.
I think it's a pretty damn perfect movie.
What? First Contact? Yeah, I think First Contact's a great movie.
I adore First Contact. It's one of those movies that you can watch and you still feel tense watching it during dramatic scenes, even though you know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean the only thing I have an issue with is Insurrection, because that was basically just a drawn out episode of TNG, and it goes back. Yeah. It goes back to what Burhan said. You know, Frakes is a great TV director, but he just doesn't know how to direct feature films. It's two different mindsets, and he's done tons of TV work that most people have said good things about. But yeah, when you put him on
Insurrection was a metaphor for Joan Rivers' plastic surgery, wasn't it? Just keep stretching out your face and stapling it.
Well, I'm sure.
I have no idea, but even Frakes has gone on record saying he doesn't like that movie. It's the reason why, if you buy the movie on DVD, there's no director's commentary.
I was so disappointed with that movie.
Yeah, but
I'm not a massive Star Trek fan, but I was, you know, like I said, First Contact was absolutely amazing, and then that movie came out, and you were expecting something fantastic, and brilliant, and you just went, "Oh right, it almost feels like an episode of the '60s show."
Do you want to talk a little bit about the whole, speaking of directors that don't like their movies, the 50 Shades of Grey situation that's going on currently?
Do you want to talk about that?
Well, basically
hold on, before we go into that, Annina, you okay if we talk about one more thing before we go on to the main event?
Sure, as long as it's not an hour of 50 Shades of Grey, I'm fine.
No, it's not. It's basically the main actor in the 50 Shades has been offered $4.5 million to reprise his role as Christian Grey.
So they want to make a sequel to a movie based on a book
that has no sequel book.
Well, there was...
it has sequel books. It has sequel books.
There's 50 Shades Darker and
why is everyone on the planet not blind? Sorry.
Yeah, it's a trilogy. 50 Shades Darker is the second one, and 50 Shades Freed is the third one.
Oh Christ! No, my soul just died.
Yeah, basically, there's been an issue where the two lead actors in that, I'm trying to get their names. One of them's Brit. Yes, and she's basically said she's done with the project. She doesn't want to do the second one or the third one. They're trying to get her back at the moment. They're negotiating. The gentleman who played Christian Grey as well, he doesn't want to do it either. And the director went on board and said, I didn't mind directing this movie, but E.L. James is a pain in the freaking arse. Politely he said it. He was just like, she was very difficult to work with. I don't think, Sam Taylor Johnson is his name, because I don't think I could do another film.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
No, I'm on IMDb. His name is listed as Jamie Dornan.
Yeah, that's the actor, Jamie Dornan.
Oh, okay.
Sam Taylor Johnson, the director, said that he had difficulty because apparently he wrote the script, he adapted the script. E.L. James took the script
It's a she.
Yeah, Kelly Marshall, and then E.L. James took the script and redid it. And due to that, we got the 50 Shades of Grey movie that we got, which truthfully, for me, it was hilarious. But for people who are fans of the book, said it's nothing, you know, it doesn't match the books in terms of the, you know, the kind of weight to
realism. So
yeah, but anyway, going from that, apparently he's, you know, the main actor, Jamie Dornan, Mr. Grey himself, offered $4.5 million. They're going to give him an $800,000 pay rise to reprise his role for the second movie, and then they'll renegotiate his pay for the third. Now, what I actually said to my friend Dan Ashley about this, which I think he should do, if you know, because they seem that Universal are desperate to have him on. Because truthfully, to me, the film's rather cut and paste. You know, you could put two other actors in there, and it would still be the same kind of movie. You know, it's like, it's not like if you didn't have Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct. You know, these characters aren't defined by the actors who play them, because they're really hammy, they're very forced. There's no emotion. Sex scenes don't really have, you know, the kind of chemistry that you expect from two actors going for it. And apparently, one of the reasons is because they hated each other. But the other thing going for Jamie at the moment is the fact that his wife doesn't. She's not going to watch the first film, and she's not very comfortable with him doing any more. So they're going back and forth. They're having a look, seeing what happens in terms of him playing the role. But in terms of if he accepts the offer, he's $4.5 million in the bank on top of what he's got for the first one, which I believe, you know, that's basically I believe he's going to be getting a nil from the first movie anyway. So the two of them, they've made their money. But the thing that makes me laugh is they feel that they need to take their careers seriously now. Your careers, and you know, out of all due respect to both.
Now you've got this on your resume, though. So
yeah, but the thing is, they could just basically do what was the dad from Back to the Future? What was his name? Crispin Glover. They could take the Crispin Glover route, which is do independent movies after this, which is what I think is going to happen. They're not.
They would let him in the face.
Yeah, they're not really going to be actors considered for big movie roles. Neither of them are. You know, Jamie, he basically has stated that he's only been doing small bit parts, and he finally kind of made his way doing some TV roles, but he's never been considered like a big bankable actor. This movie's not going to make him do that. You know, this movie appeals to certain types of people, and a lot of them are due to fans of the book. This is what you call a fast food movie. You know, this is a movie that is made to cater towards the appealing masses who like these books. Not even the S&M crowd. It's not movie files, you know, cinephiles who are going to watch these movies. It's not.
And it's not even the S&M crowd. The true
people who are into the scene actually hate this movie. They think it's a terrible representation of that type of lifestyle.
Exactly.
Where it basically, its fan base is
people who like the book. People who like the book, and these are the people who are going to go and see the movie. And the fact they've done it on Valentine's Day as well, because a lot of people wanted to go in there with their girlfriends, hopefully having them jerk them off while watching this movie. I went in there.
I've actually heard reports of like people finding like used condoms, in some cases actual cucumbers.
I got nothing out of it. I was just like, this movie is what it is. There was no chemistry there. There was not even an awkward.
Basically, you were limp through the entire movie.
Yes, because it was awkward. The movie wasn't even awkwardly sexual. Does that make sense? It wasn't even like Watchmen. But you know, for me, if I had the chance, if someone said to me, Burhan, direct this movie, direct the sequel, I would. And the reason being is you can make a great deal of money, but in terms of any credibility that any of the individuals involved in this movie have, there'll be none. You're not gonna.
Here's the thing, though. I disagree. I'm gonna say, if you had the right director behind it and you didn't have an E.L. James basically feeling she needs to micromanage it, I gotta go back to it. I think you could make a real thought-provoking film that explores the lifestyle.
I agree.
There is a story there.
If you have the right writer and you actually took it seriously.
I agree, but the problem is E.L. James is going to be micromanaging. That's why I said, because a friend of mine goes, what would you do if they asked, if Universal said to you, direct this movie, we'll give you 800 grand to direct this movie. I would say, the one thing I would say is, I'll do it, but I want E.L. James away from it. And the problem is, I think she has the same rights as the very lovely J.K. Rowling had when she was on Harry Potter. She had the right to supervise her material. The problem is, E.L. James, and no offense to E.L. James, I'm sorry if I offend her if she listens to this podcast and starts doing me slander, because I've had people hate me before. She's not a writer. You know, the thing is, she's not a writer. The fact that the books gained culture and fame out of them is because, you know, people love them, but it's bad writing, the pacing's bad, the thing is, the characters haven't even been fleshed out. We don't know who these people are throughout the whole entire movie. You don't know who they are, and that's some of the major failings of this movie. The job of the writer would be to kind of flesh these characters out and develop them. You know, when you're making a 3-parter like this, you want people to know who these people are, who your characters are. They need to see themselves in these characters, and you can't really do that when you're playing with this text. And I can understand how any good director would get pissed off with this, with E.L. James. That's me. But yeah, thoughts?
Well, Charlie Hunnam was the first actor they actually pinned to this film, and eventually he pulled out due to, scheduling.
Yeah, I really believe that's a nice way of putting it. I think he pulled out because he sat there and went...
I think his agent probably went, not a good idea.
Yeah, they're like, this will kill your career.
He's been doing, Sons of Anarchy is a critically acclaimed, really, really good show. And he can act. Charlie Hunnam really can act. I saw him when he was like 17, and he was in Queer as Folk, the original
and for
UK
those of you
version.
out there... And for those of you out there who are going to pull Pacific Rim out, there wasn't much meat to that character anyway. I liked the movie, but yeah, there wasn't much meat to that character for anybody to put over as well written. So it's not his fault.
Yeah, but you can, I've never looked at him and
Mike Hayden's on.
He's a really, really good actor. If you watch one episode of Sons of Anarchy, it's obvious he knows what he's doing as an actor.
Mike Hayden, stop trolling. There are other shows that you can go and mess with. You don't need to be on here.
Now?
He's trolling our chat box.
What chat box?
Our chat box on this whole thing.
Send me the link.
Cool. He's the not so nerd genius. That's Mr. Payton.
But yeah,
You know what?
Mike Hayden,
I'll
may
say
I
this
call
about-
you Mike? How about you fuck
Off,
off?
or I'll put my foot so far up your ass you'll be coughing shoe for a week.
Miguel, you're so right.
After the show, guys. After the show, let's do this behind closed doors. In terms of the 50 Shades of Grey stuff, I mean, it goes back to what I said about what's his name, Robert Pattinson from Twilight. People still harp on him and say he's a terrible actor. No, watch movies that are actually have some ambition to them, and you'll see that the guy can act. I've seen clips of Cosmopolis, the film he did with David Cronenberg, and he's also done Maps to the Stars as well. And from what I've heard in both of those roles, he's great. It's just when you're doing a bad movie just for a paycheck, it's really hard to put your best foot forward. I mean, there are a couple, like Nicolas Cage, for instance. Even if it's a bad movie or a movie he's better than, if he's enjoying himself, he'll get the most out of it. He'll put in a good performance. Left Behind, not so much. But people like Robert Pattinson and I'm sure there's Jamie Dornan. I'm sure these guys are great actors. It's just when you're in a movie like that, it's gonna drop you down. You really can't spin sewage into silver. You can't do that as much as you can. So, if he doesn't want to come back, good for him. I'm sure they'll recast. I'm sure the movie's gonna probably make tons of money. But man, I don't dissuade the guy at all. Like, cash your check and move on, buddy. Like, that's the best I can tell you. But enough about that. Enough giving E.L. James lip service. Let's move on to our main event, our main topic. Every time we get a new member of the show, be it a guest, like we did with Dak Xavier Josiah of the ACMG, which, by the way, check that out, facebook.com/ACMG, or in the case of Dave or Travis Goss or any of the people that we've had over, we do a segment called Defending Bad Films, where we all have movies that we like that may be hard to bring up in conversation. You know, some people might scoff at the idea and have bad, you know, a bad mindset going into it. But we love them, and I think it's Annina's turn to give us her small list of movies that fit that criteria. Now, before we start this, Annina, what genres do you like, out of curiosity? Let's just go into that. Let's go a little bit more deeper into the films that you tend to take in. Well, what's your preferred genres?
Hard question. I can say what genres I don't like. I'll start off with that. I've got quite a wide taste in films. Has to be well acted. Bad acting, I'm out, basically. Sorry, can't do it. Just can't do it. My boyfriend always moans at me. He's like, come on, why can't you just enjoy the film? And I'm like, this is painful. Physically painful to watch. I do not like romantic comedies. Romantic comedies, especially if they hate each other in the beginning and then they fall in love with each other. No. There's two so-called romantic comedies that I like in the world, but I avoid all the rest. In terms of what I like a good drama, really good drama. I'm more impressed with stories about people than, explosions or special effects. But there are some actual things that I do like as well. I really got into horror a few years ago. I went through a binge of watching all kinds of horror films. Unfortunately, horror is a hard genre to do well. That's all my favourite films are horror films.
You're a lovely, wonderful person. That's the greatest answer in the world. Horror is the future. Sorry.
And I adore fantasy films. So Lord of the Rings, I'm in. I'm in. Dragons and magical things and elves, I'm in. Love all that.
Okay, so you tend to that's pretty cool. The whole I do apologize if I'm a little bit out of it. I'm kind of trying to do two things at once here.
That's alright. I like a lot of art house films as well. Like I watch a lot of indie films. Art house indie.
Yeah, that I'm getting the feeling there's not many Adam Sandler films on your bookshelf.
No. Just
okay. All right.
No offense to Adam Sandler. No offense to Adam Sandler. He's obviously figured out how to, have a successful career, but I just can't. Doesn't float my boat.
It's interesting to see what your list is going to look like then, because you don't seem to keep your ideals when it comes to movies almost don't allow for quote unquote bad movies in a sense. Like it seems like you kind of keep a very high standard in regards to films in a sense. I mean, I could look back and say there have been some good movies that I've loved. I mean, we talked about The Dark Knight last week and how much I adore that film. I can look at a lot of other films like, one of my favorite science fiction films of all times is it's a tie between either the John Carpenter's The Thing or the first Cameron's Aliens. Those are great films, but I mean, I can appreciate some lower budgeted stuff. I mean, I'm one of the few people that defends the '98 Godzilla. I don't think that's that bad of a movie.
Oh my god.
But let's not get into that. But let's start with the first film.
This was a hard list to make. This was actually really hard to make, but I did come up with some that I think that there will be a significant group of people who will not like these films. So
All right, well, let's throw out the first one then. What's the first film?
Right. The first one is Big Fish by Tim Burton.
I really like that movie. I don't think
That one,
Dave's
I
listening,
understand.
Dave.
I understand why people don't. I especially know why people don't from Tim Burton fans, because it was a long time before I even knew it was a Tim Burton film. It's it's one of those films that it almost was an affirmation of like, oh, he can do films that are out of his wheelhouse, because it doesn't from the trailers, and I've only seen the trailers on this one, unfortunately. I haven't actually sat down. I gave up on Tim Burton after Planet of the Apes. But this to me, if you'd have told me this was a Wes Anderson film or something like that, or somebody else, like a different director, I would have believed you. It was very against what Tim Burton had established himself by that point. It wasn't dark and gloomy. Yeah, it had Helena Bonham Carter in there, but I don't believe, does Johnny Depp play a character in that movie?
No, I don't think he does.
Yeah, so by this point they were kind of attached at the hip. I mean, still is to this day. But yeah, it's kind of the non-Tim Burton film, but a very critically acclaimed, a very well-made film. Do you think a lot of the reason is because it's not based on the book? Because I know it is based off of a book, if I'm not mistaken. How close is it to the source material?
I don't know about that one. I just know I think a lot of people will have a problem with the whole magical mixed with reality thing. Like talking to other people, they're like, well, was it real or wasn't it? And that, I think, annoys a lot of people. The thing of, it's not, they'd rather have seen just a straight drama about a guy telling his past rather than, mixing in with the sort of world that he created. See, I love that. I love the duality of there's this magical world and the reality, and then you can sort of decide which one is, the better way to be, in a sense. I just love that film. It's really heartwarming and sad, and it has some fantastic actors, and also because it has a different cast to usual Tim Burton films. Because I do love Tim Burton. I will have to say, I'll put my hands up. I love Tim Burton films, but this one is. I remember seeing it and just being so. It's like a hug. It's like someone giving you a hug in film form. This is what Big Fish is, a hug.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about the movie. Like I said, it's hard for me to get back into Tim Burton because it's been such a long time for me. But yeah, I completely understand why. I get why some people are a little adverse to it, because like I said, this came about, I believe, right after Planet of the Apes. So for Tim Burton to kind of follow up a disaster like his Planet of the Apes remake with this, I think turned off a lot of people. And it is a situation where at this point now Tim Burton is kind of just like, Tim Burton. But you know what, I'm going to give the thumbs up for this. I mean, it's got a great cast. I mean, you've got, well, I just realized Miley Cyrus is listed on the cast. She's like front and center here on the Wikipedia article. For a second there, I had to like blink for a second. You got Ewan McGregor on there, obviously Helena Bonham Carter. You got Danny DeVito playing in there, always good. It's got a solid cast.
Steve Buscemi is in it. Steve Buscemi is quite integral part. He's so funny in this.
He's brilliant.
Watch it for his performance. Yeah. So funny.
Yeah, like I said, I'm gonna have to devoid from this a little bit because I haven't seen the film. But Dave, you seem to love this movie. What's your thoughts on Big Fish?
I really, really like it. I agree with Annina. I saw it by accident because I remember I can't remember what movie I was trying to see at the time, but it was sold out. So I just went literally, I'll just pick a movie. I'll go with that one, and pointed with the board and went. And it just feels like it's flawed. Don't get me wrong, it's flawed. It's not perfect. Hence the fact that it's on Annina's list, but it just feels like a lovely kind of modern fairy tale. That's the gayest way I could have said anything, but do you know what I mean?
But it's true. There's nothing wrong with a bit of magic in
it's
the
very warming, the whole way the movie's portrayed out and told it in story sequence books and stuff like that, and also the whole idea of being a big fish, which is exaggerations and stuff upon that. It's like there's a touch of Baron Munchausen in this. And I just find it a really, really. It's one of those movies that you don't go in and you think if I'm, you don't take your notepad out and pull the pen from behind your ear and go, I'm going to critique this because you could tear it apart in 5 seconds. But if you go there and just go, I want to watch an entertaining movie that ultimately I'll walk out of the theater and feel happy about myself, and that's this movie. I can't explain it. Go, watch it, Miguel. Watch it. It's just a fun, light-hearted movie that just has it oozes like heart, basically. And yeah, and like Nina said, it's like if you feel like you're watching the movie and it makes you well up in places, it makes you, tense in places, but ultimately it feels like you're just having a lovely family dinner.
Yeah,
I think
really
people will be put off by
That's the worst descriptive term ever, by the way.
Yeah, people will be put off by, they'll call this soppy and sentimental, but that then makes me soppy and sentimental, and I'm proud to be soppy. There, haha.
Burhan, you've been a little bit quiet. I know you're probably just as distracted as I am. What's your thoughts on Big Fish? Have you seen the film?
Whoa, hang on. This is we should all treasure this moment. This is something Burhan doesn't have an opinion on. Sorry. Why is she
Well, to
in the
be fair though,
credit?
this was 2003. She was an 8-year-old in the movie, so
Still Miley Cyrus.
Kind of the movie, probably because she wasn't a trashy whore in it, but.
No,
I know, but anything bar. Every time I used to think of Miley Cyrus, it's Hannah Montana. I'm not like anybody else. I'm just like, really?
yeah, let's not make this about Miley Cyrus, but I definitely would suggest people go see it. It's really is one of those films that I would say harkens in a way to early Tim Burton in a way. I wish he would do more stuff like Big Fish and not pander to the Hot Topic group, that he's kind of fallen into. Like I respect the film a lot because of that. I just haven't gotten around to actually seeing it. So I'm gonna give a thumbs up on this one and say, go ahead and check it out. I'm not gonna poo-poo this one. Um, but yeah, if that's anything else anybody has to say about it, let's go on to the second film on your list, Annina.
Okay. Now, I will be surprised if any of you like this film, but I don't care. It's actually tied in my personal my favorite film. I've got tied first place, and this is one of them. It's Moulin Rouge.
I get why people.
Yeah.
I get it. I get why. Listen, I get why people hate this film. I've seen
And I
Doug Walker
fucking
did
love
a
it.
great. Yeah, Doug Walker did a review of it, and I think he hit on a lot of parts. And I like musicals. I really do. I
I
love.
one positive for it.
Yeah.
The music video had Kylie Minogue in it.
Did it? Was she? I know which one you're talking about.
She's in the film. She's
Is she?
the absinthe fairy. Yeah, she's the
I
absinthe
must have been
fairy.
very drunk. My girlfriend made me watch this then because that was the only way I could combat having to watch this movie. Ugh.
Yeah, I think really Baz Luhrmann's one of those directors. He's very much style over substance. He's the same director that did the Romeo and Juliet remake back in '98 with Leonardo DiCaprio. He did Great Gatsby. He was the guy that did the Great Gatsby adaptation recently. It's definitely a film that's all style over substance. And going back to what Doug Walker said in his review, I think the biggest problem with this movie is if it had had its own score, it probably, in terms of its own songs, it probably would have fared a little bit better. But the fact that they were just sampling stuff from, pop culture, it just wasn't enough.
I like that. I mean, the funniest. This film, I love this film because it made me cry and laugh both. You cry and you laugh and you cry. Jim Broadbent does Like a Virgin. Now look at that scene and tell me that is not comedy gold. Honestly, and I remember watching this film. You have to see this film on a big screen. This doesn't work on, a TV screen because it's visually beautiful. Oh, it's just, this is the perfect film for me because it makes you laugh, it makes you cry, it's entertaining, tragic, good acting. I don't care what anyone says. Singing, yeah, it's auto-tuned, but I don't really care because I'm not a singer. So, and I like that they use pop culture. I think I probably liked it more than it had been a musical. With its own score, because it was, they had Smells Like Teen Spirit in there. It was fun, experimental, bit quirky. I bloody love this film. And I know it's not, never, it's usually, I read a lot of lists of bad films we love, and Moulin Rouge was on it many a times.
I think it's because it's so in your face with it that people tend to take it as very tongue-in-cheek. It's hard to take a movie like that seriously when it doesn't seem to take itself seriously. And I think that's the problem that people have with Moulin Rouge. I mean, it is what it is. It's a fun, goofy film, but that doesn't mean it's a bad movie. It just means that it's self-aware.
Exactly. This is not out to win the Oscar for Best Film. But in terms of impact it had on me in the cinema, this is why it's one of my favorite films. I was a state after seeing this film because I had laughed, I had cried, I was just a wreck. And because I watch so many films and I like a lot of films, but to have that sort of impact on me, this is why I love this film. And I think that you're going to choose your favorite film because you remember the first time you saw it. I was blown away by this film. Absolutely blown away. And I'll always have a special place in my heart because I was just like, oh my, again, you laugh, you cry, you're having a little jig in your seat because there's a song that makes you want to dance and stuff. So yeah, hate me all you want. I love this film.
Yeah, it would be like going into this film expecting it to be Chicago. It's not that kind of film. It's fun, it's campy. It is what it is. It's been a while since I've seen it. I saw it when it hit VHS because my parents had a VHS of it, so it's been a while. But I mean, I remember liking it. It is so over the top. I can see why it turns people off. It's very. And I hate to use this term, but it's very gaudy in a lot of respects. But that's the point. It knows what it is.
Yeah, I like the audacity of this film. It goes, in your face. I like that. It's honest about it. If he tried to tone down this film, it would have been a worse film because it would have been
that's a good point. Yeah, because then
if
it just would have
down
been
something like this. Great Gatsby was a good film as well, but I had definite Baz Luhrmann in your face thing about it, and it worked. I liked Great Gatsby. I didn't think I would because same reason I didn't want to go see the Sherlock, the Guy Ritchie Sherlock films, because I thought, oh, it's the subjects that have been done over and over again. We've seen it.
I think it's safe to say they're not on your list then.
I like those films. My point was, I was dragged by my boyfriend, and I was like, oh my god. And I left going, those were actually really good. They're really, really good. But I'm turned off by films when it's something, like The Great Gatsby. It's a classic. It's been overdone. So that does initially put me off. But Great Gatsby and the Guy Ritchie Sherlock films won me over. What really won me over? Because they did something new. They did something new with the source material.
By the way, am I the only one that thinks there's an alternate universe out there where the Sherlock Holmes remake was actually directed by Tim Burton and starred Johnny Depp? I feel like there's a version of that somewhere out there in the ether because I almost feel like Guy Ritchie was kind of aping that style with a very dark look to it. I mean, he didn't go clowny with it. He went more grungy like he does with a lot of his themes. But I could see a Sherlock Holmes movie done by Tim Burton starring Johnny Depp in the Robert Downey Jr. role. I could kind of see that. Although I don't know if it would have I don't know if it would have worked as well. It probably would have just seemed like an analog to his Sleepy Hollow character, in a sense.
Interesting idea.
Yeah, my alternate universe theory. But Dave Wade, what's your thoughts on Moulin Rouge?
I expected that. Really expected that.
I was forced to watch it by a girlfriend at the time, and I think I got hammered in the fucking cinema bar. I say I think because it's kind of hazy, which means I did get hammered in the cinema bar. I don't know, I just remember bright lights and costumes and corsets and feeling generally I could be watching a more manly movie with guns and shit right now.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why when I first saw the movie, I wasn't as big of a fan. I'll be perfectly honest. If you're a young boy watching Moulin Rouge, it's just kind of like, I don't know if I should be watching this. I mean, now I can appreciate it if nothing else, because, I mean, Nicole Kidman in a corset, I'm perfectly fine with that.
It's hammy. It's really, really hammy in terms of movies go. As movies go, it's really, really hammy.
Well, I enjoy my ham. Okay.
Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with ham and cheese, man. I love hammy performances. Here's the thing though, if it seems like the rest of the cast is enjoying themselves, if they're enjoying themselves doing this, I totally in.
Yeah, it basically I started watching this when I was doing my I had to learn RP for a role.
I was just going to say, speed your
words up there, Bo.
Received
when I was doing my
received pronunciation. I had to learn received pronunciation for a role. With one of my lecturers said to me, you should watch films like, here's a list of movies, Moulin Rouge was on the list. And the first thing she said to me was, do not view the movie as an actor, as a casting director, or as anything like that. Just watch the movie and put your perception aside. As a musical, I feel it's lackluster. As a story, it's very well done. The pacing's nice.
This sounds the most ignorant, stupid, unintelligent statement ever. Is it like some sort of old school, genuine musical? Is it based on?
No, it's not.
I think he just made it up himself. It's not just.
It's pretty much inspired by
the real Moulin Rouge. Obviously, this is a glamorized version of it.
It's very glamorized, and the thing is that a lot of it, a lot of what pulls this movie together is its soundtrack. Ian McGregor's pretty decent in terms of it. Nicole Kidman sounds like someone needs to hit her with a rock. But in terms of like the movie itself and how it progresses, the storyline's pretty good, but it doesn't allude to anything. Like there's certain things about it you can sit there and go, all right, I can believe this, but I can't believe this. And spoilers for those of you who who don't like spoilers, have never watched this movie.
There's only 5p every time you say that.
Well, but it's one of those where it's kind of one of those relationships that are doomed from the beginning, kind of things, But in terms of like the way that they do receive pronunciation in this movie, I kind of managed to put some characters and stuff together by using this movie as a base. I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. I felt that it was one of those. I'm a huge fan of musicals. I'm a big fan of them when they're done right. But I would put this movie.
The musical's the best musical in the world ever.
Yeah, I put this in the same vein as movies like Mamma Mia. It's one of those where it shouldn't have been done. There are a few characters that really suck. And I just felt like it was very, very hammy. You could tell it was done for a certain audience, and I kind of wasn't in that demographic.
I.e. me. I was happy.
Yes, but for me, it's not my cup of tea. Apples and oranges. You know what, if you want to see a good musical, go see Chicago.
Really holding yourself back. I was expecting like an Oslo of, oh my fucking god.
No, it wasn't bad. Yeah, it wasn't bad. It just wasn't for me. I just didn't find it. I just felt that there's a lot more they could have done with it. But again, I think a lot of it is just due to the fact maybe time constraints and the fact that they did this they basically did this musical to promote an album. If that makes any sense. But kind of the same way as they would do as one would probably do Glee to promote albums. The story's kind of there, but it's not fleshed out as much as it should be. The characters, narrative, everything, it's one of those where I watched it and I sat there and thought, okay, it's not great, it's not bad, it's just, it exists. But it has, I love Ewan McGregor. I feel that he's very multi-talented, multifaceted as an actor. He's kind of been...
He's my favourite Jedi.
Yeah, he's been snowballed a little bit, and I think a lot of it is...
I have loved him.
I think a lot of him has been... It's just been due to the fact...
I'm starting to notice a lot of his films are popping up on this list so far.
Yeah, but he's
in Big Fish as well. Does your boyfriend know you have a fascination for him?
Also, the fact is, it's one of those things where with him, he's very layered. He didn't do a bad job in this movie. His singing was pretty good, because it was very like RP singing. I am in love with you, and stuff like that. But I just felt the annoying bit of this movie.
I tried you're looking for. Sorry.
I will kill you, chop off your arms and legs, and leave you in molten lava. And the issue I felt with this movie was Nicole Kidman. I felt that she was just... Oh, and the Count. The Count was so funny. to the point you didn't know he was a disgusting villain until he kind of revealed himself. That was kind of good. But she was the worst part in this movie. And I think it's a lot more, the reason why they cast her in it is because she's Nicole Kidman and she's smoking hot. Not, she's Nicole Kidman, she's a very credible actress, because I've never ever considered her an incredible actress at all. Which
have you seen Hours?
I have.
And you don't think that's
I love that movie.
Great performance.
It's a great movie, but I don't consider her credible. I just, for me, she just seems like she tries, and she tries really hard, but she doesn't have that kind of chemistry. A lot of it, I think, for her as well, is she does the whole I'm over sexy sex appeal thing a lot in her movies. And it's just like, for God's sake, you're not, that's not you. You need to develop a character. You need to show who the person is. You need to develop. And she just doesn't really develop. She's just like, I'm Nicole Kidman. She's got, if I could, refer to anyone, she's like the female Danny Dyer. That's what she reminds me of, because she doesn't seem like someone who can play anyone else but herself, which is a shame, because she has potential.
Yeah, I don't hate Nicole Kidman. I mean, at this point, she's kind of just there. I don't think she's as big of an actress anymore. I think it's, at this point, her name has any sort of recognition now because of her previous works. So if she pops up anything, it's more like, oh, okay, she's still doing acting, I guess. I mean, yeah, like I said, I'm going into Moulin Rouge in her case with the most, with the most chauvinistic means possible, obviously. But then again, that's kind of the point. I mean, you're not going into this movie to see Nicole Kidman act. You're seeing her pretend to sing and walk around in nothing but a corset. I'm fine with this, 100%. It's the same reason why I'm willing to watch her performance in Batman and Batman Forever, because let's face facts, she ain't there to play a
She's awesome in that bit where she's punching in the bag in the nice little tight black top. Sorry, I'm a sexist pig.
Oh, like I said, that's why she's in there, and I guarantee you, if you asked her about that, she would say the exact same thing. It's, at the end of the day, it's a movie that's style over substance. It knows what it is. It is cheesy. I'm surprised that
it knows the audience it's going for, basically, doesn't it?
Yeah, it knows its audience, which I'm surprised Annina fits into that audience. But hey, I never hate people for liking certain movies. It's
just, I think it's a glorious mixture of things, and it just works.
Absolutely, and I do too.
Yeah, there's not a lot of... I don't usually go for musical films, but this one just hits all the right spots on me for some reason. I think because it is a bit over dramatic. I think I kind of love that about it. It goes over the top and goes... This film is kind of like a drama student who's just starting out. Maybe that's why I like it.
Tangent question. Since you said you dig musicals like that, have you seen Repo the Genetic Opera?
Oh, I love it.
Oh, I love that.
That's fucking amazing. Sorry.
I love it. I love Repo.
I'm a martyr.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Moulin Rouge kind of fits in that same build of sorts. Actually,
Yes.
I thought about going back to watch Moulin Rouge after seeing Repo because they kind of have that same very gaudy kind of look to it, except Repo was very much an R-rated movie by comparison to.
And Repo had Anthony Stewart Head, who's like, I would go gay for that man.
I sat opposite on a train with him for 2 hours.
Did you hold his hand? Dave, tell me you touched
I was
it.
too scared to approach him. He was sat in front of me, and I didn't want to say. Oh, I really wanted to jump up and just go, "I love you" in Buffy, because it was right about that time. But I just thought you're just gonna look at me like some weirdo and just go like, "What? You're in your fucking late 20s and you watch Buffy? What's wrong with you?" And slap me back with his.
No, you basically sit there and go, "Thank you. You should have asked him for an autograph."
He'd be a perfect gentleman.
And you know what? You could have said, "I loved you."
Guys, that's just very approachable.
Yeah, and you could have said, "I loved you" in Repo the Genetic Opera, and I would have been like,
I loved you in your coffee commercials.
"You should have got him to do a Sexy Biscuits."
Yeah, but this was hey, here's an idea, Patrick. By the way, possibly 15 years from now, I might have a YouTube channel, even if it doesn't exist right now. Do you want to do a Sexy Biscuits? You could do a Sexy Coffee. We could do a whole series of Sexy Biscuits where he shows up at my door.
Sexy Coffee is George Clooney area, I think.
Yeah, you're right about that one. Apart from that cow who steals his coffee, selfish wanker.
I know.
Sorry.
This is completely out of my wheelhouse. This is clearly a UK thing that I would know nothing about.
Yeah, George Clooney's in our coffee commercials.
Basically,
Cafe coffee commercial.
Oh
yeah, basically Anthony Stewart Head was
back in the 80s, Miguel, where they were really, really popular, and it was basically he popped upstairs to the bird next door to say, "Excuse me, can I borrow some Nescafe?" Like, "Excuse me, can I borrow a cup of instant coffee?" Obviously, in the UK we didn't have Starbucks at that time, and it ran into like 30 different commercials, and they ended up getting married. It was a soap opera with him in.
Yeah, it's basically a set of commercials with a narrative. It can be comparison to today's standards. They did kind of the same thing with the BT commercials.
Which ones? The ones with ET or the ones with Bob Hoskins?
No, do you remember the ones with the couple? You had the guy and the girl.
Oh, yes.
And then
going to their kids.
Yeah, they basically got Valentine's Day. They kind of, you could decide if they got married or not. The commercials were so successful. The guy who was in the commercials, apparently he bought his second house using the money that he got from his BT commercial.
Family Guy.
Yeah.
He got run over in Bristol and almost died.
Oh. But I know he's trying to break out as a serious actor at one point. He did, the last thing I saw him in was that theatre production called, that one with Billie Piper, I forgot what it was called. Because she met her husband on it. Treats or something like that. But he was in that, but I haven't seen him in anything else. He's kind of one of those things where he was on the cusp of kind of breaking out from his own bubble, but then just disappeared.
Can I just break the fourth wall for one moment? And this goes to you too, Patmos. And I know I've been a dick on this, but let's just ignore him. Fourth wall ended.
Okay, that's about as far as I'd like to go into the fourth wall in that regard. But yeah, I think that's pretty much as I can say about Moulin Rouge without repeating myself. So let's go on to your third one. And what's your third movie on your list?
Daredevil. I've got my fingers crossed.
This is where it gets really controversial.
Daredevil.
I warn you. This is where it gets really controversial.
Don't worry, I'm standing up for this.
Spoiler. I do not spoiler. Why am I saying? Warning. I do not think this is a great film. It's not on my favorite lists anywhere near, but I really do enjoy it. And it is, drumroll, Phantom Menace.
Ooh, controversial.
Controversial.
Did you just go down Ewan McGregor's filmography and was like, I'm gonna pull this one out?
No, this is a coincidence.
You've got a Woody for Ewan McGregor, haven't you?
I do. It's Scottish accent. That's it. Cheekbones and a nice accent. I'm yours. My boyfriend knows.
is Michael Bay's The Island going to be your fourth movie? Because he was in that one too.
No.
Okay.
That was a pure coincidence, okay? But he's a very attractive man.
Go ahead. What's your justification for Phantom Menace?
Out of the...
There was an awkward pause there, Annina.
Out of the prequel, I'm just thinking how to regain...
How to address this turd
myself.
sandwich?
Out of the prequels, this is really enjoyable. And also, I believe that kid can, in the right circumstances, become Darth Vader. Whereas in 2 and 3, I do not believe it. In 2 and 3, I'm like, no, that's an emo child being emo. That's it. That's it. That's just it. It's really enjoyable. Plus, it has a great villain, Darth Maul. Oh God, I'm really tired tonight. Darth Maul.
I was gonna say, does he rap? You know, Darth Mace, yo.
Deleted scene. I don't know. And also, the whole thing between Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan.
Qui-Gon Jinn's my favorite Jedi officially.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You can see there's some drama. Okay, this is a Ford film, of course it is, but I really enjoyed it. I was entertained. What's wrong with that?
I understand that.
2 and 3. It's much better than 2 and 3, and it's the one I've seen the most because I'm actually entertained.
Yeah, it was one of those where it had a lot of promise, and then as it progressed, they kind of killed it. And I think a lot of people, when they introduced Hayden Christensen, that's kind of when things went a bit downhill.
Yeah.
Yes.
And let me just start off by saying,
I will be very open about the fact I do not like Hayden Christensen. I just no. That's I don't want to be rude, but I do not like him as Anakin at all. At all.
The problem with Phantom Menace, in my opinion, and we could do a whole episode on this, we won't, is there's so many things that had they just tweaked it just a little bit, it could have been actually two reasons. Number one, it's close to being a good movie. There's so many things that could have been taken out that you wonder why they left in the first place. That really does hurt the film. I mean, we could say everything about Jar Jar that hasn't already been said. I mean, the whole movie could have been, a lot of the film could have probably been fixed if they had just taken his character out. In fact, there's a whole cut of the film called the Phantom Edit, which is a fan edited version of the movie with his scenes taken out.
And I have it, and it makes it that much better.
The big problem with Phantom Menace, in my opinion, is it came in with a lot of baggage. This is, I think, still to this day, maybe not to this day, considering how much advertising goes into movies nowadays, but at the time it was the most advertised film ever. It was everywhere. Everything from 2000 to 2001.
What was the teaser trailer on that got everyone super hyped for it, where you saw the double lightsaber? What movie was that on? Was it, But what was the Brad Pitt death movie?
Brad Pitt death movie? Are you talking about
Meet
Fight
Joe
Club?
Grey? No, Meet Joe Grey, was it?
Meet Joe Black.
That's it. Wasn't this... I could be completely crossing the streams of confusion now, but wasn't this the teaser trailer on that movie, and the only reason that movie was successful because everyone went to see the teaser trailer for the Phantom Menace and then didn't watch the movie?
I would not be shocked if that was the case. I mean, like I said, this movie was everywhere. The advertising campaign that really sticks with me the most was, for the first time that I could ever remember, Pepsi actually did a campaign where they cross-promoted Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, and KFC at the time, because this was at the time when they owned all three of those properties. They had this whole series of commercials based around the Phantom Menace where it was mascots from those three franchises kind of against the droids and whatnot. It was this whole big hoopla of advertisements, and I think a lot of people were turned off because of that. I do agree with Annina that the problem with the fact that the kid was Darth Vader is that that's all of the advertisement. Honestly, if they hadn't gone into it with that mind,
so much, it would have been if it was more understated, it would probably not piss people off half as much. I agree with what you were going to say. Let me go. It's like
because
it was
I get why
Darth Vader is a child. Accept
yeah,
it.
I get why they had him act like such a kid in the movie. It was supposed to contrast the fact that this kid, this innocent looking kid, was going to be the most evil thing on the planet. It was trying to create a contrast. So as you're watching this, you're supposed to sit there and go, oh wow, I really like this kid, but I know what he's going to become. It's conflicting, but it just didn't
See,
come off as
I
that.
believed that. I believed, I believed that could happen. And that's a big part of why I like this film. I go, yeah, he could.
And I
did
also
like the poster as well. Did have an amazing poster with the young Anakin. And
yes, it is. I think I have that poster somewhere. Also, this has one of my favorite fight scenes in it, which is with Darth Maul. That's a fantastic fight scene.
Well, to me, the fight choreography in 1 is probably better than all the other ones because in this case, it was still
that fight scene is a wet dream of Jedi goodness.
Yeah, whereas, and this is something a lot of friends of mine and I have argued about. Whereas the choreography in 2 and 3 just basically became nothing but CGI flailing, where they weren't even trying to actually fight.
Yeah. Well, there's a deleted scene. Well, not a deleted scene, an unprocessed scene on the DVD for the first one, The Phantom Menace, where you get to see about, I don't know, 11 seconds of Ewan McGregor fighting Darth Maul, and with the actual Kane lightsabers, and it's the bit where Darth Maul goes and Ewan McGregor puts his lightsaber in front of himself, then drops it behind his back to stop him hitting him on the back. And I agree with what you said, Miguel. It was all genuine, well choreographed dueling, basically.
Yeah, they
as you said, later on it just turned
into
I'm not actually here. Yeah.
The actual actor,
and it's funny because
got made up
Ewan
to
McGregor,
be.
Well, one at a time. Dave had a point, and then I'll switch back to Annina. Dave, your point first.
I was going back to the fact that it was really, really well choreographed, and they knew what they were doing. And even though the later movies had the same actors in, we have a talk show over here, the Graham Norton show, and when Ewan McGregor was on it, Graham Norton thought it would be funny to bring out two of those proper prop lightsabers and have a fight. And he gives the lightsaber to Ewan McGregor, and he starts spinning it around like he did in the movie, and Graham Norton stands back and goes, wow, you're really good at this. And Ewan McGregor goes, well, George Lucas trained us for 6 months. You don't forget that shit. And it was, and that's why it was the fights in this movie, or the end fight, I should say, at least, are just absolutely fantastic, because you can't fake that with CG. You can feel their presence. They're actually, physically chopping away at each other. That sounded so gay.
Yeah, like I was saying, the person who is Darth Maul was a world champion stick fighter. That's why it's so good.
What's the actor's name? Sorry, I keep forgetting his name. He's the frog bloke, isn't he? Or Toad in X-Men. Shit, why do I forget his name? That's not important. I just need to remember because I got a brain fart moment. Can't remember. Carry on. Sorry. My bad. I apologize.
I'm not sure either. Let me pull up the old Wikipedia. Hold on. To Wikipedia. Away. Sorry about this, folks. This is how we do things. Live, everybody. Let's see. X-Men.
Otherwise, we all go to bed trying to remember his name and we get no sleep.
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that.
He was a great villain. They did cast a fantastic villain for the first one, and that gets big points with me.
Wasn't he supposed to be in the second one, but he wasn't because Lucas didn't like the fact that, because Lucas doesn't mind anyone using Star Wars, or didn't before he became Disney's pet bitch, using Star Wars content to make fan movies and stuff like that, but he got really pissed off with him because he actually printed a load of his own Darth Maul pictures out and went around the comic book circuit selling autographs on them without Lucas's permission. And so that's apparently, allegedly, I'm not confirming this, I'm just saying this is what I heard and read on loads and loads of sites, and it was in a couple of papers that Lucas just said, right, you were going to have a reoccurring role, even though you're cut in half, but, clones and shit in the second movie, but no, you don't do that to my franchise or my pet, property.
By the way, the guy's name is Ray Park.
That's it. And he's English, isn't
Yeah.
he?
He also played the character. He also played the Horseman in Sleepy Hollow.
Yes, he did.
Oh,
and
yes. Yeah.
and Snake Eyes in the G.I. Joe movie. Both movies actually.
And he was also in the was it Fatal Fury movie, which he played Geese Howard. Yeah, that movie. Yeah. Spoony did a review on it.
No. He was not. Yeah, you're thinking of King of Fighters. He was
Was
King of
it?
Fighters. Yeah.
And that was yeah. Straight to DVD goodness.
Yeah.
Hang on,
But
there
yeah,
are some straight to DVD goodness, by the way.
No, it was straight to DVD goodness. I was being sarcastic. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just
yeah,
saying there
we
are
can,
some good ones. Don't take them with this.
Yeah, I can go off on my issues with King of Fighters honestly all day. But I will say this about Phantom Menace. I do like the fact that the prequels and more so in this one, you kind of got a sense of how faulty the Jedi Council is. You know, they were kind of made up to be this grand group of people, but
The modern
Phantom Menace really
reflection
was the
upon
one that.
Congress or Parliament, basically.
Yeah, they basically portrayed them as kind of stuffy, goody goods, trying to keep
Out
balance.
of touch.
And something
Like
and something
MPs,
somebody
old MPs.
Yeah, and somebody brought up a great point is they go on for years they went on for the longest time in the first movie about how, this kid is going to bring balance to the Force and whatnot. Yet at this point there's hundreds of Jedi and 2 Sith. Think about that. Even Yoda, I think, hinted at that towards the end. He was like, I got a bad feeling about this. I think this is gonna, come back to bite us. And sure enough, it did.
Yeah.
He brought balance. He brought balance to the Force. But yeah, I do. Phantom Menace. A lot of people say it was made as a kids movie. He was targeting kids the same way Lucas targeted kids in the first Star Wars. It was just a different kind of kid he was targeting to. So I get why people don't like it. Honestly, I do agree with Annina. There's more to remember about the episode 1 than there is 2 and 3. I mean, 2 is probably the most forgettable I've seen. I really did not like 2. I thought it was boring, and 3 almost seemed to. And 3 almost seemed to.
3 has some of the worst dialogue ever in a film, I think. 3 made me go, "Oh my god!" in the cinema out loud, because I just couldn't bear some of the dialogue.
I think people give a lot of credit to 3 because it followed up 1 and 2. It was kind of almost like Stockholm Syndrome at that point, where we all just kind of convinced ourselves that 3 was good.
I have some thoughts on Phantom Menace.
Go ahead, it's your turn. I'll throw it over to you. What's your thoughts on Phantom Menace?
I did groan. Phantom Menace to me is something, as you said, that had the potential to be an absolutely fantastic movie, but failed because it felt like a collection of great scenes with shit between them. Because there are certain... I love the pod racing scene. I love the fight scene at the end. I love the start. I think the start of the movie where you finally get to see Jedi's fully realized, and completely badass, was absolutely amazing. Because before this point, we'd only seen, no offense, elderly Jedis, but we'd only seen elderly Jedis or half cyborg, sized Jedis, or Luke with his, gurney on to hide his gut from Jedi, because he was fucking fit. That makes me sound really gay. Never mind. He was really fit in Empire, but in Jedi he was getting a little bit podgy. But we never seemed fully realised, all these powers we were promised. So the start of the movie was amazing. The pod race scene was amazing. The end fight was amazing. And then there was all this shit in between that really didn't need to be there. Like the bit where they have to, you've got to go for the planet's core, and there's that whole fish scene. Like, that didn't need to be there. What the fuck was that? That was...
Yeah, I was gonna throw out there, not to cut you off, but I was gonna throw out there, what's more racist in this movie? The Nemoidians, which were the Charlie Chan looking fish people, Jar Jar, or what's his name? The weird Iranian blue stereotype salesman that owns Anakin. I keep forgetting his name, but you know what I'm talking about.
Slave.
Yeah, he's the worst stereotype of a Middle Eastern.
There's
Like
a
it would
lot
be like
of
if
racist symbology in this movie.
yeah, like I think Burhan could probably do a better impression of this guy than I could.
I honestly think, right, you could take this movie and the second movie and make a cut
Impression of
both
who?
together and
Oh,
get a better movie of both.
I was gonna say Burhan, you could do a good impression of the salesman from episode 1, the what's his name, the penis nosed guy.
Oh, the Arab dude. Yeah, the very racist Arab penis nose thing.
Yeah.
You could probably
With
do a
tiny
better
wings.
impression of him than I could.
You're on board, buy some food there. There you go.
I like it.
Hey,
I
you
like
go
it.
back.
Family
Don't
Guy.
touch that.
Oh, I got my penis.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't there a
Yeah.
Family Guy episode where the cartoon version of him flies into an ultraviolet fly trap?
I wouldn't be shocked. Let me see. I gotta pull this guy's Watto, that's his name. I think his name is
Find the
Watto.
actor's name. I swear to God, it's probably the bloke from The Mummy and The Infidel.
But Omid Jalili.
Yeah, that's just a random guess based on his voice, but then that's the voice in this movie is just a
I
stereotype.
don't think it's Omid Jalili. I doubt it's Omid Jalili.
Are you talking about? Oh, you're talking about the comedian, the bald guy from that movie? Yeah,
Yeah.
He's actually funny. I've seen
He is
what's
really
it called?
funny.
I've seen what's it called? Comedy specials of his. He's actually seriously funny. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, the guy that does the voice is actually Welsh.
Oh wow!
Surprising.
Oh my God! I would have preferred him to be Welsh. That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything else except for voices in Star Wars films, and I think he did like.
Let's go to Ablacalveni. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean it's he hasn't done anything except that, and I think he did a voice of a character in the 2005 Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Which I love, but that's a movie for
I
another
like
time.
that film too.
There's a
We've
thing
got a
we
similar
just said.
taste in films, me, Dave. We do.
When you say he's not done anything else but this movie, well, let's be honest. It was, what did it gross? It grossed loads. He doesn't need to do anything
I
else.
think
He's
he's
just
very
retired.
comfortable. Yeah, he's very comfortable doing just those films.
I know the bloke who voices Darth Maul isn't Ray Park, and the bloke who voiced him is the guy, the British actor who was in Spaced, wasn't he? You know, the
What,
bloke
Simon?
who stole Tim's bird?
Samuel Witwer.
Yeah, you know the I'm not a monster, Tim. That bloke. You stole my
him,
girlfriend. He's the voice of Darth Maul.
yeah. Really? Hmm.
Yeah, no, seriously. Because when he was on QI, they made him do the voice to prove it, and he did
Yeah.
it.
Oh no, I got it. I got my thoughts crossed. No, Samuel Witwer is actually the voice of Darth Maul in the Clone Wars animated series.
You
Let's see,
shot
who's
me
the
in
voice?
the bollocks, Tim. Like I said, no hard feelings.
It doesn't say who his voice is on. Let's see.
Go look up Spaced and look for
Oh,
the bloke
Peter
stole-
Serafinowicz, I
Oh,
believe
yeah.
is his name.
Mm.
Yeah, he's done that. He was in. Oh, he was one of the guys in Shaun of the Dead. He was Pete.
Yes.
Yeah, he was the bloke who goes, I got a banging headache. Some prick bit me. Go to bed.
Yeah. Okay, that guy was pretty funny.
But he talks about it
Yeah,
now. He just goes, they go, why did you become the voice of Darth Maul? And he actually says, well, because I had to do fuck all apart from spend one day in a studio and it made me rich.
I
Good
understand
answer.
that. I mean, it goes back to
Actually,
if
there's a little
you're
bit more
being-
to it. I think he did it to put someone through college or something, but...
Yeah.
You
Little
shot-
known
I still
fact,
just love the,
actually.
you shot me in the bollocks. He should have done that in the Darth Maul voice. You shot me in the bollocks. Sorry. I'm having a fan nerdgasm moment.
All right, Burhan, let's throw it over to you. What's your thoughts on Phantom Menace? Burhan?
Burhan, you're not the best.
Phantom Menace. It was good. It was swift. It was fun. You know, and
Stop talking about last night and talk about the film.
No, that's what I'm saying. It was fun for what it was. I wouldn't even call it a Star Wars movie. It tried to capture the old elements of the first three Star Wars movies, but it just seemed as I don't know how to put it. It didn't seem
like a Star Wars movie.
No, it's like it had Lucas's touches on it, but it wasn't what it was supposed to be. You know?
Tribute.
That does go back to it. I get what you're saying. It's Lucas unhinged. You know, Lucas is one of those guys, like we said with Tim Burton, who I think really works best when he has somebody there to say no to his dumb ideas and knows how to filter out the best. With Phantom Menace, that wasn't the case. It was all Lucas. His producer had really no power over anything, so whatever we got on film is exactly the way Lucas wanted it. Whereas if you go back and listen to anything about Empire Strikes Back,
yeah, a lot of that was between Lucas and the director at that point. You know, it was a two-man effort.
Yeah, he put. I know. I can't remember the director's name on Empire, but I know it was a two-way street. He put as much into that movie as Lucas did, and worked with the script and said a lot of stuff. No, that won't work. We'll do this. And Lucas, before Lucas became the man without a chin, said, "No, that's a good point. I'll address, the story for it." Whereas Phantom Menace just turned into "I am God, I know best," which is probably why it was the movie it is.
Yeah, it was. Empire was directed by Irvin Kershner.
That's it. Yeah.
Who directed stuff like Never Say Never Again, RoboCop 2. Let's see.
RoboCop 2 was him.
Yeah, Irvin Kershner. Yeah.
I thought it was Frank Miller. But...
No, Frank Miller wrote it. He wrote RoboCop 2. Yeah, he and a bunch of other stuff that I've never heard of from his from the 50s and 60s. But yeah, Empire Strikes Back. He basically put his foot down against Lucas, and we got a great movie because of that. In the case of Phantom Menace, it was just Lucas got what he wanted, and sometimes you got to be willing to pull the ropes on people. Sometimes, Yeah. But Burhan, go ahead, continue what you were saying. If you have anything else to add.
Not really. It's just, as I said, it is what it is in terms of the movie. I enjoyed it for what it was, and wasn't completely butthurt like a lot of fans were. It was enjoyable. I enjoyed Ewan McGregor in said movie, but it was, it was fun. I think the worst thing about it was Jar Jar Binks.
I don't have a problem with him. He's not brilliant.
He's so racist.
No,
I didn't mind Jar Jar Binks at all. I don't know at all.
He wasn't brilliant, but he has the greatest line in the movie. People forget this. He has the greatest line in the movie. Used to say people gonna die. Greatest line in the movie. Just saying. Then this comes back to the fact he was just putting like the Ewoks to sell toys. This is my little rant. It's not related to this, but the Ewoks were not put in Jedi to sell toys. The Ewoks had a very valid point in that movie. Get over it, people. Sorry.
Ewoks are cool.
Well, the whole point of them being in that movie was it doesn't matter how, technologically advanced you are.
A bit of string can just...
A primitive uprising of people who are focused and in great numbers will humble any. It's a metaphor for modern warfare in 1983. So it's a metaphor for then modern warfare. Never mind.
Yeah,
anyway, I think we can all conclude The Phantom Menace could have been an amazing movie, but it was just a collection of scenes padded with shit.
Yeah, I don't hate the film. I think for being the first, new Star Wars film of my generation, it was a letdown. And if you like the film, that's fine. I like I said, I'll never hate anybody for liking a film. I get that the movie has problems, but I do get that it does a lot of good things, and you could see that it was trying to do certain things,
It was trying to establish Jedis, wasn't it? Basically, it was trying to say like these are the things we've always alluded to in their true form.
I completely understand. But yeah, let's go on to the final film in the list. We're gonna go up to 4 this time because we're running a little bit long on time. So, what's your last 4th film in your list?
Oh, I've got a few. Would you guys like a thriller, a romantic comedy, or a children's film.
I tell you what, tell us all. No, I tell you what, tell us all three, and we'll decide which one is one we can really sink our teeth into.
Okay. The Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
I really like that movie. We're talking about Rebecca De Mornay, right?
Yeah. I've got The Notebook or Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus. Let's talk Hocus Pocus. The Notebook. Look, I can understand why people like The Notebook. It was the first of that whole Nicholas Sparks, formula. So I'll say this: you're allowed one Nicholas Sparks movie. But if you're a fan of more than one Nicholas Sparks movie, you got to stop, because there's only one Nicholas Sparks movie. He only writes one type of movie.
Yeah.
But I will give you. Yeah.
And The Notebook, when I saw it, I was like, oh my god, I actually enjoyed that. That's how I felt. I felt like, what? This is a romantic comedy, and I liked it. I really did feel ashamed, because I usually hate them. Like Love Actually can go die in a fire. I hate that film.
Me too. And I hate that film.
I hate that film, and I could have a whole half-hour rant why I hate that film, but I won't. But yeah, Notebook, especially when they're old. I think it's the old couple at the end that gets me. Old couples that are still in love. That's it. I can't handle it. An old couple at the end that are still in love, I turn to mush. Young couples don't care. Don't care about young couples, whatever.
No.
It's the old couple
at the
end.
Hand That Rocks the Cradle, it's been years since I've seen that, so I don't even remember how that film goes. The Notebook, like I said, I've only seen clips of it, so I can't really say. Hocus Pocus, on the other hand. Yeah, Hocus Pocus, on the other hand, I have elected that we talk about that one. Anybody else disagree? Anybody else want to talk about the other two instead?
I've never seen Hocus Pocus.
Ooh.
And I've never seen the Notebook.
Okay, Burhan.
Let's talk about the glass house instead.
Are we talking about Hocus Pocus, or are we talking about The Hand That Rocks the Cradle?
We have a choice of the three, because those are the last three, and we get one choice. So it's either
I say Hand That Rocks the Cradle because I thought that movie was amazing. Hocus Pocus is good.
Talk about this. It's been years since I've seen the movie, so if you guys want to talk about it, since it's majority,
basically,
I'll opt out of this.
It's a mental woman who becomes like an au pair for this couple. And it's
your thick London accent. Au pair.
Au pair. Au pair.
Eat an apple. Au pair.
It basically has all the elements of a good psychotic thriller, and that's exactly what it is. It's amazing. There's even this moment where she picks up the baby and starts breastfeeding the kid.
That's the bit I was going to talk about.
It's so awkward and yeah, exactly. She is just mentally unstable, and it's a
she can breastfeed me, actually, as long as it's not lactating.
Yeah, she's.
Rebecca De Mornay has amazing tits. Sorry.
What I like about this film is it was female sort of. It's still rare. Really good, psychotically unhinged woman in a film. I think it disturbs people too much because women are meant to be nurturers or whatever. So they're rarely made. I honestly think that's it. It's like, this is too scary. No, we want the woman to be the thing that gets saved rather than the actual threat.
I
love this film.
People should nurture children.
Yeah.
What about if she's so obsessed with children, she turns into the anti-nurturer?
Did you guys hear that the two actresses in this
were originally cast the other way around?
Oh, right. Oh,
yeah, they were, because they thought that
the one from Hot
the
Shots?
blonde has to be the good one and the brunette has to be the evil one, then last minute they went, no, actually,
what a stereotypical view of society, right there.
I know, and they thought, no, let's switch it around. So they've already been cast, and then they thought, no, you're going to play each other's roles, and that really worked.
I like to think in a Mr. T voice, they cast the roles around because they said, I ain't no breastfeeding no baby.
Yeah, I just love this.
I was going to say, this film came out at a time where you had movies like that, where you had very psychotic female characters.
92?
Yeah, I mean this came out right around the time. Oh God, what was that movie?
Basic Instinct.
Yeah, Basic Instinct was one of them, but I remember there was another one. I distinctly remember. I know Glenn Close was in it, and I think she boils in
Fatal
money.
Attraction.
Yes, that was it.
The bunny boiling moment, which has gone down in history.
That was one. That was the that's the scene I had to think of. But yeah, there was that movie.
I would have eaten it, by the way, because rabbit tastes good. Sorry.
But yeah, between that and Basic Instinct, you had a lot of films with very psychotic female leads. So I think this film may have gotten a little bit lost in that swing. But yeah, I do get why people may have not liked it, because Disturbed is kind of hard to it's kind of hard to sell people on Disturbed. Like, Evil is fine, but when you go down the path of Disturbed, it hits too many notes. It's too many sour notes.
I think it probably got lost a little bit to a degree, which was it was so heavily female cast in the early 90s. It got lost in a world that was testosterone fueled and should have just been blokes, Like, I just think it was a little bit controversial, maybe ahead of its time.
Yeah, it was. I think it was
so heavily female cast.
It was ahead of its time, and
because if you look at the bloke in it, he takes a complete and utter backseat.
He does. He doesn't. He's quite passive. He's like, "Oh no, everything's fine." So kind of gender roles are reversed in a way, because he's going,
everybody's dead, Dave. What,
he's going, oh no, the wife is getting, disturbed, and he's just going, oh no, I can't remember the character's name.
There's something wrong with you. There's nothing.
Debbie's fine.
She's lovely.
She's fine. Yeah, she's lovely, and
she fed our child. Oh, whatever.
Yeah, she just has a connection with the child or whatever. He's a very passive force in this.
I've got this weird memory in my head of this movie, which is, isn't there something about a tree in this movie?
About a tree?
I don't remember. I remember somebody dies from a greenhouse smashing over them.
Oh, I was just going to say, that's one of my favourite less is more death movies in the world ever, which is, what a horrible way to die. Sorry, people, spoilers. When all the glass from the top of the greenhouse drops down, and you don't actually see, the effect of it, but your brain fills in the gaps, and you just think, fuck me sideways and call me Susan. That would be horrific.
Yeah, I think one of my favourite things in films is I love psychological thrillers. Well done.
When your brain has to fill in the gaps and dot the I's, cross the T's.
When you don't know what's going to happen, that is amazing. And you believe it as well, because a lot of psychological thrillers get made and you're like, didn't believe that. It becomes too implausible. This one was completely plausible.
A good point. This was totally plausible. I mean, it's almost, and this sounds, I don't want to make this sound like, I'm justifying all this stuff or, tipping over the serious nature of this, but how many times does this actually happen now?
What, the animals to cradle?
Where the carer has actually become so obsessed with the child that they've run off with it or stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? It's completely
it's real. Yeah, the thing is, the whole methodology behind it is real. The situation can happen. It can happen in someone's home. It can happen in their lives. It can happen anywhere. The sick thing.
Rebecca De Mornay was hot.
Yeah, sorry. But it's not. That's the thing. She was like, if I could basically compare her to anything, it would be a Black Widow spider. She mates, then she kills. She was so psychotic yet so beautiful, and she had every reason, because if you saw her life before she ended up with the family, there was a bit. And this is the thing. The movie built backstory. Do you know what I mean? It built backstory on the character. You knew why she was mentally fucked up. And a lot of like movies and thrillers and stuff, they don't do that these days. But this movie has everything. It has subtext, it has narrative, exposition in the right places. Everything about this worked. And the great thing about it as well, it had an amazing cast who told a rather, depictive story as well at the same time.
Completely
In fact,
agree.
I go as far, and don't take this the wrong way, Nina, but I go as far as to say this shouldn't be on your, cheesy or bad movies I love. This is a movie that completely stands up in its own right. This should be on a underrated gems list of movies.
Yeah.
Well, it got put on my list because it turned up in one of those lists online. Because I was really struggling to think of a film. It was bad movies we love. And this one turned up a few times, so I thought, oh, people must not have liked it. Whereas I always thought it was great. That's why it's on my list.
Let me go on Rotten Tomatoes for a bit to see what this got.
Then again,
you mean tomatoes?
It also had Matt McCoy in it. Do you know who he is?
Who?
He played Commandant Lasard's nephew in the Police Academy 5.
Oh my god.
And 6. He was kind of the guy they used to replace Mahoney.
Right. Yes. I knew. Oh yes.
The movie's actually sitting at a 63% on Rotten Tomatoes, so
Not bad. Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Just for me, Miguel, say tomatoes.
Tomatoes.
Can't say it, can you? No. That didn't work.
I mean, that's kind of why I wanted to do Hocus Pocus, because I get why people hate that movie. Like, Hand That Rocks the Cradle at least is a film that has some,
it's got some
bravado to it. I mean, the director is the same guy that would go on to direct L.A. Confidential, so the guy's got to know what he's doing in terms of getting.
Can we throw Nina an honorary mention movie?
Sure, we'll do that for we'll do that real quick for Hocus Pocus then, because Hocus Pocus is one of those films that changed for me as I got older, and the reason is because I love this movie. This, when it first came out, more so when it first debuted on Disney Channel, became like the Halloween movie. Like if this movie popped up, you knew it was Halloween. Like it was.
Wait, hang on. When I said I watched it, is this the one with Bette Midler?
Yes, it's a Bette Midler role. It's one of those where when you see a Bette Midler role, mostly it's her doing her big boastful voice, like using her pipes, or they're ones where she can play really snotty and snooty characters. And this is
kind of at the same time in this one.
Yes, and the thing is, the worst thing about this movie is they're making a sequel.
That makes me a bit sad.
It pisses me off too, because I felt that this movie carries itself on its own and it had a very sewn up, tight knit ending. It didn't need to basically happen. The movie didn't need to happen in terms of that. It had a very ingrained story, and it was a nice little movie that set itself upon itself. Again, as a child, I'm pretty much like Miguel. I loved this movie growing up. It's still one of those that I can affectionately put it on for my kids and say, watch something, this is so fun to watch. But
here's the thing though, for a little while, especially in my late teens and early adults, I couldn't watch the film because I did not realize, going back to rewatch it, there was so much anti-virgin humor. And when you're me growing up in your late teens, and you still by that point hadn't even had a girlfriend yet, there were a few times where I was just sitting there just groaning to myself, gnashing my teeth like, it's not funny, stop it.
They're mocking me.
Yeah, stop it. Although I will say this, I did not realize that was Sarah Michelle Gellar in there. Not Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Sarah Jessica Parker, yeah, that's her without her nose. She has like a bigger nose now. I don't know if she got a nose job. But she looked rather sexy in this one as well.
And wearing that corset, it was like, I almost don't even think that was her body. I think they pulled like a Ricardo Montalban and gave her a fake chest, because there's no way that that's the same person that would end up being in Sex and the City.
She got a lot thinner. She got a lot thinner in Sex and the City though, so she's probably a bit more fuller build there. And also she's married to Matthew Broderick, who's kind of a tiny man in his own right, so,
underrated. I don't hate on Matthew Broderick as much as most people do. I think
Ferris Day Off is one of the greatest movies in the world.
I don't either. I actually liked his version of Godzilla better than the new version they've got out.
I do actually.
Well,
I agree with you on that.
That's debatable, but I mean, I between his performance in that,
technically, you see the monster for the same amount of time.
This actor hasn't done anything for a long time. I haven't seen Matthew Broderick.
He's mostly been doing Broadway, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's a stage
actor now, isn't he? He did the last movie he did was The Producers, which was the Broadway version that they carried over to film, so they used the original cast.
And I gotta see that movie. I've only seen clips of it. I've heard it's not very good, but between Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane, it can't be that bad. Like I
really liked it, and it's totally not the sort of movie I would watch.
Do you mean The Producers, the remake film, or the original, like...
The remake.
Was done in the 80s?
They did the remake one. It was basically when the Broadway one got really popular, because they carried it. I know they carried it over here with Nathan Lane did the one over here. Then him and Broderick did it over in Broadway.
So good.
And then they did the film version, which was kind of like a rushed, straight to movie one. It was good. It was good, but it was kind of one of those where you sat there and went, okay, that's a Matthew Broderick film.
Yeah, it was based on performances as opposed to content.
Yeah, it was basically a movie that they produced for just being a movie.
Frank Oz will get my vote.
In terms of Hocus Pocus, real quick, unless anybody else has anything they want to say, I can go back now that I've gotten that out of my system and watch the film and enjoy it for what it is. It's campy as as anything else, but like we mentioned with Moulin
Here's
Rouge,
an odd analogy. Am I the only person who thinks that Hocus Pocus, at least when I watched it, felt like a kind of, because it's Disney, isn't it? Or Touchstone. Kind of an update or reboot of
Touchstone is Disney. Touchstone doesn't exist anymore because Disney have now, because Touchstone was made as a way for Disney to do more adult-orientated, un-Disney-like stuff. But now they're like, fuck it.
Baby.
Yeah, well, I love that movie. And Fruit Man Little Lady.
Wasn't that directed by Leonard Nimoy?
It was. Both movies.
We just turned into Seinfeld. No, what I was going to say was I always thought that Hocus Pocus felt like a kind of modern reimagining of Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Yeah, I could see that. It kind of in the same vein. I mean, what isn't Bedknob and Broomsticks Landis? Was it John Landis who did that, I believe?
I believe it was Angela Lansbury is the main person in it, and I like my bed, so if I can fly around on my bed, that would be totally the greatest thing in the world. Plus, also, it'll be zero emissions, so I can drive into London on my bed and not get taxed.
Well, for me, Hocus Pocus is a pure nostalgia film. That's what it is. If I hadn't seen it as a kid, I wouldn't feel anywhere near the same as I do about it. It has a Halloween theme, which I do like. Being the goth
It's
child
actually quite dark elements
I was.
in it.
But yeah, it's nostalgia. I watched it maybe a year ago again, and it was just so much fun remembering that as a kid. Because you just wanted to be a witch after that, or the magic.
Not a witch. The modern descriptive term is politician. It does beg the question, which is, if you hadn't seen them as a kid, would you be able to rewatch them now and enjoy them?
A lot of films fall into that category, though. Loads.
Yeah. I'll be honest. There are certain aspects of that movie that I think I could like. Sarah Jessica Parker, demanding to take my virginity. I'd be perfectly fine with that.
I'd be perfectly fine with that. Not yours, mine.
Yeah, I don't care if she's a witch and I might die from this. I'll go out with.
She could take it again.
Yeah, go out with a smile. But yeah, I think the only thing that would probably grate on my nerves would be Bette Midler's rendition of "I Put a Spell on You." That may grate on my nerves just slightly, just a little bit.
Completely forgot I watched this movie, and now the painful bits are coming back.
It's not that bad. It really
isn't. It's not
isn't.
that bad. No, it isn't. It really isn't that bad. It's just that bit is that bad. Come on. That's why you bought it out.
Yeah, it's one of those where I think you'd enjoy it a lot more as a child, and you'd probably be a lot more scared by it as a child. Kind of like, what was that Monster?
Monster Hunters?
Is it
Little Monsters?
No, not Little Monsters. Monster Club or something like that.
Oh, Monster Club's a fucking amazing movie.
Yeah, no, but it's one of those that
But I love it.
you'd enjoy it a lot more. It kind of has that childlike horror, you know.
Oh, you're talking about Monster Squad, yeah.
That's it, Monster Squad.
Yeah.
It has that childlike horror to it, rather than if you saw it now, you'd be like, I don't know why I found this scary. Hocus Pocus is kind of like that, but it's still one of those things I could sit there and laugh about now and watch my kids and sit there and watch them and their reactions. It's not one of those movies as an adult you can sit there and go, oh my god, I'm so shocked by this, or something that you would immerse yourself in. It's
Monster Squad when they stick dynamite down the front of someone's pants and he blows up and then he reassembles.
That's the Frankenstein, I believe.
Yeah, sorry.
But it is one of those things you'd sit there and look at it and think, oh my god, that's scary. I remember watching it as a kid. I was like, whoa, you know. And that's the thing when it comes down to it.
Why not this country, by the way?
That annoys me.
I mean, I know
I could import it, but there's something about just being able to nip to HMV and buy a DVD. But Monster Squad has no Region 2 release.
The reason being is copyright issues, because the monsters, some of them are free license, the others aren't. So
Yeah, they can show it on TV.
Yeah, it's one of those where if you've probably purchased a license, you have it for a certain amount of time. It's probably
why Batman, the original TV show, took so long to come to DVD.
Yeah, because it was produced by Fox, wasn't it?
Yeah, and there was so many different licensees in the mix that all fought each other for a slice of the pie that the fans got shafted, because the fans don't give a shit about stuff like that. We just want the bloody show on DVD. Well, I'm Fox, I want this. Well, I'm Warner Bros, I want this. Well, I'm DC and I want this, and I don't know why DC has a girl's voice, but she does apparently. And so the people who lose out in this situation is us.
I totally agree. But as I said, when it comes to Hocus Pocus, you can't. I can see why you can defend it, because of the fact that the movie is a cherished childhood-like movie.
I'd go on record and say, Annina, a lot like...
See, I think, like you said, we have very similar tastes in movies, apparently. I didn't know that until tonight. A lot of the movies you put on this list, I personally don't think should be there.
Well, I found it really hard to think of
I'm
these
a little
ones.
upset that you didn't put Daredevil's director's cut on there. But
Oh, I'm not going anywhere near Daredevil. Sorry. No, I'm not watching it. Pay me money and I'll maybe watch it.
I might give the director's cut a whirl, but who knows.
Director's cut's fucking amazing. Mainly because of what they took out as opposed to what they put in.
Yeah, Miguel defended it. I remember when I did my Daredevil review, kind of slamming the movie, and Miguel was just like, hold on a minute, man.
Yeah, give the director's cut a chance. I really do think that I really think a lot of the problems you had with the movie will be fixed with the director's cut. That's what I've heard from a lot of people.
You know, like a movie, right? When you chew aspirin and your brain always thinks about that scene with Ben Affleck, and you try and crunch your aspirin, because I chew aspirin, so it gets into my bloodstream quicker. And yeah, whenever I chew aspirin, I always think back to Daredevil and try and chew them like Ben Affleck. And just to be that close to the character, I close my eyes and pretend I'm blind. Seriously, true story.
Do you know what the funny thing about that movie as well, though, is Jon Favreau basically had 2 Marvel properties under his belt, because he played one side character in Daredevil, and then he directed and also played the side character in Iron Man.
That's right, yes. Huh. And true story about that movie, Ben Affleck had to go to hospital. You can tell I love the movie. Had to go to hospital because the leather suit was so tight. I'm not making this up. You can look it up. It cut off the circulation of blood to his balls.
Oh God.
That probably waked him up inside.
Yeah, that's dedication there. But yeah, this is neither here nor there.
In his defense,
folks,
he didn't know until he put the suit on that did a fight scene.
Folks, we've just added 5 new films for you to check out. Most of them by Ewan McGregor, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your taste. Big Fish, Moulin Rouge, the Notebook, no, Hannah Rocks the Cradle, Hocus Pocus, and Star Wars Episode 1. So if you haven't checked these out, go out, look them up, make your decisions as to whether or not these are, worthy of the title, guilty pleasures. Annina, I do appreciate you for playing along with us tonight, and I guess this pretty much finishes your complete encompassing of the Untitled movie shows. So you are welcome, basically, is what I was trying to say.
Yay! I passed the test.
Annina, is there one Ewan McGregor movie I think you need to watch is I Love You, Philip Morris. Watch it, so good.
I've seen that. I love that film.
He's really good in that movie. I love him, and Jim Carrey in that.
Jim Carrey.
Can I do a
great.
really silly, blatant plug, by the way?
Yeah. In fact, let's kind of go into that because we are running long. Let's go right into the plugs then. And Dave, you wanted to plug something, so go ahead. You go first.
I wanted to plug because Paddy bought it for me because I was having a bad day, and the Blu-ray version of The Lost Boys is absolutely amazing. Not only is it a really crisp and properly cleaned up version of the movie, you got like 4 hours of document, because I like my special features, 4 hours of documentaries, half of them clearly shot with Kiefer Sutherland on the set of 24, reminiscing about their days of Lost Boys, and that's a nerdgasm for me. It's seriously, you can buy this Blu-ray for like 12 quid. It's fucking amazing. Plus, we all know that Lost Boys is the greatest vampire movie in the world ever.
I wouldn't agree with that one, but that's
there you
my
go,
own
Miguel. There's
opinion.
a topic for future times. Your favorite vampire movies.
We did a vampire movie episode, remember? That was our Halloween episode.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, sorry, I was drunk. Favorite zombie movies?
We'll think about that later. Actually, I was going to take another suggestion you guys had done for next week. Next week we're actually going to be doing a kind of a retrospective, but mostly we're going to be talking about it because there's been so many things in this property. But we're going to be doing a discussion on Amblin. I know you had suggested
right,
one of you guys suggested that last week. So I figured that could be something.
That was mine and Dave's suggestion. I think Dave said Mr. Spielbergo, the Mexican equivalent of Steven Spielberg. I decided instead, let's do Amblin Entertainment because it's got a very storied history.
That was our stipulation from the 80s.
Agreed. We can do a lot.
Talk about some of the later years' works as well.
Yeah, because I think like Spielberg still produces under that every now and then, but most of his stuff's kind of been carried over to DreamWorks.
For the most part, yeah. So let's move on to the plugs then.
Quickly, I was going to finish my plug, which is it's my new thing, which is I don't promote my channel anymore. You can find me at the first Christmas you realised that Father Christmas wasn't real.
Or Lord Boys Post 1975, the home of Dave, on YouTube. So that's youtube.com, Lord Boys Post 1975.
Yeah, Dave is going to be getting a dedicated URL soon.
We all remember that Christmas, don't we? Sorry.
Yeah, Lawn Boys Post 1975. Hopefully that title is free and you can use it as the link to your channel. So look out for that, folks. Dave's actually going to get it.
By the way. In case I shouldn't say this, touch wood, in case I get taken down. You know the way you differentiate, or the way it looks different between capital L and small l on, typeface. I have Lawn Boys Post 1975 as a backup channel because I changed the L to a small L. Yeah.
Gasp. So yeah, go ahead, check out Lawn Boys Post 1975 on YouTube, the home of Dave. Give him a sub, guys. He can really use it. We could all use subs. Burhan, where can we find you?
If you're a troll, then you know who you are. You can find me on youtube.com/TheNerdGenius. You can find all my videos, so you can thumb them down, and also radio shows such as this one, where you can complain about being butthurt and me calling you out because you're being trolls. You can also find my newest basically gaming review there, which is a Wild British Review. Going to have a new movie file coming out soon as well. I'm going to schedule more stuff, get more content out. You can find this show and many of the others, of course, on youtube.com/UnlimRadio, and we've got a new Retro Unlim site coming soon, so make sure that you check it out on there. Check it out on youtube.com.
Am I the only person on this podcast who says the word correctly? It's schedule.
Anyway, you can also find us on nerdgenius.com along with other little beautiful stuff as well. I currently wrote an article called Wrestle Ramblings, where I'm basically talking about Roman Reigns' push and how Vince McMahon likes big beefy guys who can cut promos. So check that out, see what you think, look at all my other stuff as well and all loads of other content that I do for that channel, for said channel, should I say, and make sure that you just keep up to date. I've also got some news coming up for Silent Hill in terms of Silent Hill Genesis, the pilot. We've cast 2 new characters, we're going to be casting more. I've got a cast list up, so if you're interested, you're an actor and you want to basically get cast in one of our roles, I believe we've got about 8 more roles to cast. All you got to do is email me at michaelburhan@enigma, enigmar.co.uk, enigmar.
Taken, by the way, people. Peel Baby's already taken, so
yes,
that's fucking...
by Dave. And so make sure that you do that. I'll give you further instructions and also give you a few line scripts in the finishing stages, and the Indiegogo will go live soon. The only reason it hasn't gone live yet is because I'm just basically trying to sort out the other little finalities for it, offers, stuff that we can offer you, because I don't want people being empty-handed in terms of what we're doing. We want to raise as much money as we can for this project. It's 150k, I believe. Reason being is that I want to pay lovely actors who work with us, plus people on set, and also pay for people's travel to come up to Vancouver where we're going to shoot this. Well, I want to make sure that everybody is compensated, and then the reason being is I'm trying not to be a jerk. I'm trying to be as legitimate as possible with this, because the pilot itself is going to be a proof of concept that we finally can submit to Konami, who have given us permission to shoot the pilot and use the characters and likenesses for said pilot. So I want to make sure that that's done.
And it's important, people, that we show Canada love.
Yes, and of course, if you like all things Silent Hill 2's James Sunderland, the voice of James Sunderland, Mr. Guy Seehey, will be on I Got Gameplay 8 p.m. this Saturday evening. It'll be a pre-taped episode because we're going to be filming it, recording it, should I say, at 1 p.m. on Friday, so that's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, my time, which will be around about 8 o'clock in the morning, ET, with Guy. So if you've got any questions to submit, just go to facebook.com/IGotGameplay, submit your questions. Guy would love to hear from you as well. We're going to be directing as many questions as we can. We're going to have some...
Make my sorry ass up. Can I be on?
Yes. The one thing that we won't be talking about is the pilot on the show, because one, Guy's not involved with it, and two, it's about him. It's not about our pilot. So make sure that you guys, if you're interested in Guy Seehey, you're interested in Silent Hill 2, check it out. It's going to be a fun episode.
And Annina, the main focus of tonight's episode, where can we find you?
So far, you can find me on Twitter and Facebook, ANNINAKASKI. So I will be posting stuff on YouTube. I know, Burhan being the main offender.
Listen, Annina. I've known Burhan for almost 2 years now. He still refuses to just put the U in my name. Apparently,
I do.
No, I
he
don't
just refuses to it.
It's one of the reasons Troll A just went to me. It's Miguel, you fucking prick, and I was like, thank you, Troll.
To be fair though, I have harped on you for that too.
Yeah.
But I refuse.
Each episode, I'm a slightly different version of myself.
Burns called me Jeff.
But I called you Annina.
Yes.
Pronounced it correctly. Was the written form was the...
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's not like Burhan actually aspires to be a writer, so it's you can.
I do, but the thing is, I do write and direct my own stuff as well. But the same thing is, what I tend to do is I use spell check, and I don't use that on Facebook.
My name is not on spell check.
It kind of isn't.
Mine should. I believe mine is, and it still gets spelled wrong.
Yeah.
But that's not here nor there. That'll just.
No,
yeah,
that's it. I have a name that is on spell check. That's not fair.
Well, Dave, no offense, I kind of know how to spell Dave.
No, it's complicated. It's a complicated name, Burhan. You're just getting it wrong.
Yeah.
It's got an H at the front of the D. It's D-H-A-V-E.
Silent H at the start.
No, it's really Jesus. Yeah, it's spelled J-E-S-U-S.
Don't tell anyone, my real name is David, but only my mum's allowed to call me that.
You can find them all over the place, all sorts of projects, but you can find us here every Wednesday night for the Untitled Movie Show. You can find us on Twitter, twitter.com/unmovieshow, where we post links to previous episodes. And speaking of previous episodes, we now have an official YouTube channel. If you go on YouTube and you search up Untitled Movie Show, Man of Steel, because that's the first video we have up currently at the moment. I'm going to splay the rest of the movies. You'll find the official channel for the Untitled Movie Show. I'm going to be posting hopefully all of the previous episodes off of our Blog Talk Radio days onto that channel. We've got our first episode recorded. We've got our second episode actually recorded in January of 2014, where me and Burhan went 2.5 hours for the most part talking about Man of Steel. So all the in-jokes we do about us talking about Man of Steel, that's all where they came from. So don't be put off if I sound a little bit odd. It took me a while for me to get into the groove, as it were. So
yeah, that was funny. The first episode, you were just like, ah! It's like Miguel's kind of perfect.
That was before my time, but
also,
like half the
in-jokes now make sense.
even though I was
cracking half the in-jokes before I watched this.
And also,
the about section and add a description though.
We are going to.
What channel it's around.
Also, just so you know, peeps, the Unmovie Show is also going to have its own iTunes link, as well as Burhan and the Boy, and all other shows from this lovely network.
We get one as well.
We're all getting one, and that's been done. All the shows have been archived on the new site, and the RSS links have been fed to iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and BlackBerry Podcasts.
Okay, good. So you can find us on Stitcher, I guess. You can find us on iTunes. You can find us on YouTube. We're growing. We're like, we're like, a bad case of,
we're like a
Ebola.
Mormon family.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're like the trolls' egos. They never go away.
And with that, tune in next week as we do our somewhat pseudo-retrospective of Amblin Entertainment. So for myself, for Annina Kaski, for Michael Burhan, and for Dave Wade, this has been the Untitled Movie Show. Take us out, Jay.
Celebrity voices are impersonated. No celebrities were harmed in the filming of this episode.
Excuse me, sir. The show's over.
Get away, zit-face.
I think that was a rookie.